The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the April public meeting. I'm Linda Muma, a Public Information Officer with CalRecycle. Today's live update is designed to serve Californians with accessible, inclusive, and plain language information about CalRecycle programs, actions, and priorities, and we welcome your feedback as we continue to improve our public meetings. Before we get started this morning, a quick mention to those who wish to submit questions and comments on an agenda item, to please send them to the public comments portal. Just go to CalRecycle's homepage, and from the top menu bar, select News and then Monthly Public Meeting. In the text near the bottom of the page, click Public Comment Portal, and then from the drop-down menu, select the first option, Monthly Public Meeting, to submit your question or comment. And we'll address those submissions during the public comment period coming up a little bit later. Our first agenda item today is the director's report. Director Rachel Mackey Wagner joins us now with some important updates this morning. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Linda. It's nice to see you. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good morning to all of us joining us today for the April public meeting. Happy Earth Week or month. We are very excited to be here with you today to give you some updates on all of the important work that CalRecycle is doing.
Rachel, I'm going to interrupt you for just a moment because we can hear you, but we can't see you. There we go.
Excellent. Let me start again. Apologies. All of the technical difficulties that we are experiencing this morning are mine, thank goodness. So good morning and welcome to CalRecycle this morning, and happy Earth Week, Earth Month, and Friday Earth Day. Very excited to be joining all of you today and sharing some very important updates on the incredible work that we are doing here at CalRecycle to continue to achieve and move forward our mission of fighting climate change and pollution through the important programs that we run. You're going to hear a lot today about program updates, everything from 1383 and our organics recycling program to our carpet recycling and beverage recycling. There is a real drive at CalRecycle to move towards our ultimate goal of building a true circular economy here in California. And many of our updates are going to show the incredible work that we're doing to actually facilitate a stronger, more circular economy here for our state. One of the things that I wanted to highlight today is that the Department of Finance, the governor, have put forward a spring finance letter, so a spring action on this year's budget to propose some additional spending within the beverage container recycling program. I wanted to highlight that today to give our stakeholders an understanding of why the administration has put forward this spring finance letter and why we did it in April. So as you all know, the beverage container recycling program is California's most accessible and achievable recycling program, and at nearly 70% or hovering around that 70%, we are achieving very high levels of recycling of our beverage containers. But for the state of California to really truly see this as a success, that we need to achieve statutory goal of 85% recycling and beyond. So as the pandemic has changed the nature of consumer buying habits and consumer recycling habits, we have suggested an expenditure of $330 million from the Beverage Container Recycling Fund to help facilitate greater access to the beverage container program and to provide more rebates back to consumers. We really look at this program as being built for the consumer and should really facilitate getting those bottles and cans into the recycling system. But then it should also really be about how does the California consumer access this and feel that this program truly belongs to them. So the administration has put forward this proposal that does everything from just deploy mobile recycling across the state to new technology in university settings and other types of facilities. And then provides a rebate back to California consumers to bring back those bottles and cans that we think are out in people's garages or yards, that other 30% that we have not achieved. So we're very excited to put this proposal before the legislature. The process now is that proposal went to the legislature. They will consider that as part of the budget process in their hearings in April and May. And the reason that we put this proposal forward on April 1st was to give the legislature and stakeholders plenty of opportunity to talk through this proposal and any other ideas that stakeholders and members of the legislature have to facilitate our two primary goals, which is to create greater access to the redemption program and to ultimately recycle and remanufacture more of those beverage containers. So we are very much looking forward to engaging in that conversation with the legislature in the coming weeks as they finalize their budget with the Department of Finance and the governor's office, and providing that input. So highly encouraged to all stakeholders who are interested to engage in the budget process. And we look forward to this conversation with all of you as well as the legislature. A couple of other items that I wanted to highlight this morning. Very, very excited. As you may know, in the SB 1383 Organics Recycling Program, the legislature approved and appropriated $60 million in local assistance grants to our local jurisdictions to help them in their initial implementation of 1383. In February, we received over 470 applications for that financial assistance and quickly went about reviewing those applications and assuring that they met the requirements and criteria of those grants. We have completed that review, and those grants will be going out, I believe, the first week in May. We have 399 jurisdictions totaling $40 million that will go out the door that first week in May. We are very excited about this incredible partnership we are building with our local partners to implement SB 1383, and just the incredible work that is happening on the local level to make the entire state of California successful. So I really want to extend a huge thank you to our local partners, those 399 jurisdictions who not only got their applications in, but ensured that their ordinances were in place and that they are really, truly embarking on a full implementation of 1383 regulations. And thank you so much to all of the other jurisdictions that are working very hard to meet the second wave of grants that will go out in June. And really couldn't be more proud of the state of California right now and our local partners and state partners who are really working to achieve this critical climate goal that we've set. So that is just a huge kudos to the entire state, all of our stakeholders, our local jurisdictions, our nonprofit partners. It is really just a huge testament of what we can do when we work together and how dedicated we are as a people to achieving these important climate goals and to really truly beat climate change. I also want to put out a huge thank you to all of our staff at CalRecycle who are working towards the implementation of 1383, as I'm sure all of you can imagine. Reviewing all of those applications and assuring the compliance is a really big job, and really just incredibly proud of how hard this department is working to make this a successful program with our local partners. Also want to highlight another grant program that you'll hear more about a little bit later. We are expanding our farm and ranch program, and our criteria was really expanded in this recent grant cycle to look at those communities and those populations that we have not touched before and not been able to provide grants to before, who could really use our assistance. And so another huge kudos to our grant staff who have, in expanding the farm and ranch grants, have been able to develop new partnership with some of our tribal nations here in California, and just couldn't be more excited to develop those new partnerships. Last but not least, I want to highlight our extended producer responsibility programs. You will hear a lot more about those in a little bit, but really wanted to highlight the fact that we are looking at extended producer responsibility and the programs that we have to really facilitate the policy objectives and statutory objectives that have been set by the legislature in those programs. And so as we are working through approvals of plans and enforcement actions in the coming years, the number one policy question that we are asking ourselves are we meeting the objective of this program as it was set by the legislature when the program was created? So as you are hearing more and more about our EPR programs, you may notice some changes in how we are looking at those programs to truly facilitate the statutory objectives that have been set forth for the department. Last but not least, I want to highlight you will be hearing a lot from Ms. Zoe Heller today. She is our acting deputy director over the material management and local assistance program. Matt Hennigan has accepted a position at the Department of General Services, and so Zoe has graciously agreed to step in and help our MMLA program in the interim. So with that, I just want to again say a very happy Earth Month to everybody. Look forward to the ongoing conversation today. And with that, Linda, I'll turn it back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rachel. And moving on now to the 2021 Wildfire Cleanup on our agenda. Deputy Director Tina Walker joins us now with the newest milestone in the 2021 Wildfire Cleanup efforts. Good morning, Tina.
Good morning. Thank you, Linda. Debris removal following the 2021 wildfire siege is on its final stretch, with nearly 90% of all properties cleared of debris, ash, and contaminants. This includes 85% of the properties in Plumas County hardest hit by the record-setting Dixie Fire, the home of Greenville. Bulk debris removal is complete in 5 of the 15 counties to which we're deployed in clearing residential parcels. And we're over 90% complete on another 4 counties, including El Dorado County, which was hit hard by the Caldor Fire. Following bulk debris removal, the state program ensures the soil is tested for contaminants, erosion control measures are in place, and all fire-damaged trees posing a threat to the public are removed. Once a parcel has been verified as safe for redevelopment, it's returned to the county. To date, 955 parcels have passed inspection and have been returned to their owners. As we wrap up the 2021 disaster debris removal operations, we're also preparing for the next mission. We're reviewing what went well this last season, and we're finding ways to expedite our response in times and financial efficiencies. This includes improvements to the contract solicitation process to mobilize crews quickly and expanding our staffing capacity to staff multiple operations while providing technical support to those communities not meeting federal or state disaster thresholds.
Great. Thank you so much, Tina. And as climate change fuels more extreme fires and droughts, California is taking bold action to protect the future for our children and our grandchildren. Policy Director Zoe Heller has implementation updates on laws to reduce both climate and trash pollution. Zoe?
Thanks so much, Linda. I have an update to statewide food and yard waste recycling efforts in just a bit. But first, CalRecycle has news to share about SB 343. This was passed last year to promote truth in environmental advertising. It's focused on the chasing arrow symbol on products and packaging. The law prohibits false or misleading recycling claims. While CalRecycle will not determine the recyclability of products or packaging, the department is required to do a number of things. First, to conduct a material characterization study. You're probably familiar with our waste characterization studies. This one's a little bit different because what we're going to do is see what types of materials and contaminants are coming through select material processing facilities, really focusing in on MRFs. We're also going to collect new information in our recycling and disposal reporting system to identify recovered materials and pinpoint how they were collected from consumers. And we will be publishing this information at the completion of our studies and with our normal RDRS reporting mechanisms. So moving forward, CalRecycle is developing a request for proposal to complete the material characterization study. We are getting stakeholder feedback on that material list to identify facilities to participate in the study, and we expect to release this RFP contract solicitation in the summertime, probably in July. CalRecycle is combining rulemaking of SB 343 with another new law, AB 881. Both laws require updates to the recycling and disposal reporting system. AB 881 classifies mixed plastic waste exports as disposal rather than landfill diversion. This change requires us to collect information about the jurisdictions of origin for mixed plastic exports. Informal public workshops for these regulations are planned for June 22nd, July 13th, and August 23rd, and we expect to start the formal rulemaking in October of 22. New funding is now available to support local governments with SB 1383 implementation costs, as Rachel discussed. CalRecycle is working hard to get our $270 million in circular economy investments into our communities as soon as possible. We previously announced awards for new organics recycling and surplus food recovery projects. CalRecycle anticipates approving the SB 1383 Local Assistance Grant Program awards later this month. The first round payments will be processed as soon as possible, and checks will be distributed in early May. This slight delay was needed to confirm that jurisdictions that applied for the SB 1383 Local Assistance Grant Program submitted an enforceable ordinance or similarly enforceable mechanism by April 1st, 2022. For those jurisdictions that did not qualify for this first round of payments, the second round of payments will tentatively be distributed in the fall. Final approval for second round payments is contingent on CalRecycle verifying that jurisdictions submitted an adopted enforceable ordinance or similarly enforceable mechanism by June 14th. So once again, we're looking to make sure that those ordinances are in by mid-June, and then we can distribute those funds in the fall. All applicants that were part of a regional or joint power authority application need to meet the criteria for first round payments in order to receive funding in the first round. If one or more did not meet the criteria, they were moved to second round for consideration. And we will be sending out correspondence to all jurisdictions that applied to provide this clarification. As a reminder, jurisdictions should not incur any costs until you receive notification from your CalRecycle grant manager, which says you may begin incurring costs. Thank you for your patience, and please know that staff are working diligently on getting these grant funds out as quickly as possible. And I want to thank them because this has been a big effort across the board for CalRecycle staff. Earlier this month, CalRecycle posted a notice of funds available for our new Co-Digestion grant program. This program offers $20 million in grants to help build and expand food waste co-digestion projects at existing wastewater treatment facilities. Check out this short video on how California can upgrade existing facilities to recycle more food waste to reduce landfill climate pollution.
Each year, families spend about $1,500 on groceries they'll throw away. To fight climate pollution caused by landfilled food, California is working to minimize the waste we create, redirect surplus food to hungry Californians, and recycle inedible leftovers into compost or fuel. This wastewater treatment facility in the Central Valley is using a process known as co-digestion.
So co-digestion in our solid waste world usually refers to the recycling of food waste through anaerobic digestion at wastewater treatment plants.
Food waste from grocery stores, restaurants, even your bin at home is collected, processed, and trucked into the facility. It's then blended with household sewage into a sludge, and much like a cow's digestive system, uses bacteria inside large tanks to transform the mix into a potent gas. The methane is captured, cleaned, and carried through a series of pipes to nearby pumping stations to fuel the city's fleet of garbage and sewer cleaning trucks.
So co-digestion has the potential to serve a huge role in meeting 1383 goals.
A recent report from the State Water Board found California's wastewater treatment plants have enough space to recycle millions of tons of food waste, adding to California's compost and biogas facilities to keep organic waste out of landfills where it currently rots and releases methane, a climate-heating gas 84 times more potent than carbon dioxide and a major contributor to the climate change causing extreme fires and droughts.
To do this, we'll need some major investments and upgrades to the wastewater plants. The good news is that CalRecycle was allocated $20 million specifically for this purpose.
Grants to help fund a variety of infrastructure projects, including equipment to process food waste, upgrade existing digesters, convert what's called biosolids into fertilizer for soil, and use the renewable energy produced from these facilities to power homes and businesses.
Each wastewater treatment plant has different needs to be able to enable co-digestion. So we're casting a relatively wide net in terms of eligible costs.
New support for California communities to recycle more food waste and curb this pollution overheating our planet to protect the people we love.
Applications for this grant program are due on May 19th, 2022. Go to calrecycle.ca.gov/funding for application guidelines and instructions. Okay, moving on to our Farm and Ranch grant program that Rachel discussed in her opening remarks. Today, we're awarding a total of $377,000 to 3 local communities under our Farm and Ranch Solid Waste Cleanup and Abatement grant program. The program offers $1 million in annual funding to communities and tribes to help clear and prevent illegal dumping on farm and ranch land. This grant cycle, we received 5 eligible applications requesting over $776,000 in funding. With limited funding, CalRecycle used scoring criteria to fully fund 2 projects and partially fund a third. 2 California Native American tribes and 1 resource conservation district will receive these funds. You can see the grant recipients here and read more about their local cleanup projects on today's agenda. Since 1997, CalRecycle has awarded over $13 million to help clear more than 1,000 sites of things like tires, appliances, vehicles, construction debris, and other trash. Today, we're also announcing $5.2 million in awards to 31 local governments to investigate illegal waste tire dumping and to perform local waste tire facility inspections. This funding is available to all eligible cities, counties, and regional agencies in California under our local government waste tire enforcement grant program. CalRecycle received 31 applications. The list of grant recipients is linked to today's agenda. Each spring, CalRecycle's tire program shifts unused funds from the current fiscal year into grants or activities that need additional funding. This fiscal year, there are about $2.3 million available from undersubscribed grants and other sources to reallocate. That funding will be redirected to fund 9 grant applications from the Tire Amnesty Grant Program and 14 applications from the Rubberized Pavement Grant Program. You can find the full breakdown of unused funds and reallocation totals linked to this item on today's agenda. This request for approval was signed earlier this month to allow grant recipients enough time to start their projects this fiscal year. And we have a quick update, eligibility and evaluation processes for 2 of our programs. First, CalRecycle's Tire Incentive Program, which supports California businesses based on sales of products that used rubber from recycled waste tires. The partial reimbursements create financial incentives for manufacturers to competitively price and market their recycled content products. You can find more on funding availability and eligible applicants linked on today's agenda. Staff proposes to use the same eligibility criteria and evaluation process from last year with a few small changes. These include requiring a description of how community benefit requirements will be addressed throughout the grant term. Staff expect to post the notice of funds available for the Tire Incentive Program in June, with applications due in July and awards provided in October of 2022. Staff also proposed small changes to the criteria and evaluation process for the Household Hazardous Waste Grant Program for the next 2 fiscal cycles. This grant program provides funding for local governments to expand or implement collection, education, source reduction, and recycling programs for household hazardous waste. Proposed changes include deleting treated wood waste as an eligible product category, since variances are no longer needed with last year's passage of AB 332. Also, disadvantaged communities, qualifying Indian tribes, and border regions applying for small project cycles will be placed in a priority pool. Staff expect to release the notice of funds available early next month, with applications due in June and awards in September of 2022.
Thank you so much, Zoe. And as a reminder, if you'd like to submit a question or a comment on an agenda item, please do so through the public comments portal. You can see the instructions there on your screen, but I'll walk you through as well. From the CalRecycle homepage, select public meeting in the text, click on news, and in the drop-down menu, select monthly public meeting. And please keep your submission brief and make sure to indicate which agenda item you are addressing so that we can direct them to the correct person during the public comment period coming up a little bit later. Moving on now to some informational items from our beverage container recycling program. Linked to today's agenda, you'll find the quarterly certification and registration report, the quarterly enforcement report, and the beverage container recycling program rates for July 1st, 2022. CalRecycle will stream that hearing live on April 28th from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. And you can click on the public notices for each of these items to see the reports and to also get additional detail on the rates hearing. Next on the agenda, new actions to help boost the reuse and recycling of old carpet in California. We'll bring Deputy Director Zoe Heller back with more on these items. Zoe?
All right. So the first item involves the Carpet America recovery effort known as CARE. That's the stewardship organization for the carpet industry. The law requires CARE to establish a system of differential assessments that takes into account the financial burden that a particular carpet material has on the stewardship program and the amount of post-consumer recycled content contained in a particular carpet. To address this requirement, CARE submitted a plan amendment in June of 2021 regarding its proposed system of differential assessments, which CalRecycle conditionally approved contingent upon CARE making specified revisions within 60 days. On October 26, 2021, CARE submitted its revised plan amendment, which CalRecycle determined did not meet the conditions for approval, referred CARE for potential enforcement, and directed CARE to revise and resubmit its plan amendment again to resolve the deficiencies. On February 22, 2022, CARE submitted its revised plan amendment regarding its system on differential assessments, which went into effect on April 1st, 2022. Staff analyzed CARE's plan amendment and determined that it met the requirements and resolved the issues previously identified by CalRecycle. This item will now go to the director for her consideration. More information and background, including CARE's plan amendment and staff analysis, are available on today's public notice for this meeting and linked in the meeting agenda. California's carpet stewardship law requires stewardship plans to include quantifiable 5-year and annual goals for achieving program objectives like increased recycling rates. CalRecycle must review and may adjust these goals at least every 3 years. The department reviewed CARE's current plan and initiated a robust stakeholder engagement process that included meetings, a public workshop, and consideration of public comments. As a result, CalRecycle staff proposed annual goals for calendar year 2023 through 2027 for recycling rates, recycling efficiency rates, collection rates, and flooring, public access to drop-off sites, and flooring professional proximity to drop-off sites. CARE must include the goals set by CalRecycle in its next stewardship plan, in addition to the other goals required by law, and demonstrate achievement of the goals in its annual reports to CalRecycle. Staff proposed recycling, collection, and convenience goals that will help the state achieve its 75% source reduction, recycling, and composting policy goal established by Assembly Bill 341. Further, the goals set by CalRecycle in combination with the goals CARE will include in its next plan will support the transition to a circular economy in California. This item will now go to the director for her consideration. You can find more information, including staff analysis, and the proposed baselines and goals on the public notice linked in today's agenda. And a quick heads up about an upcoming workshop for our covered electronic waste recycling program. We want to hear your thoughts about proposed changes to the covered electronic waste recovery and recycling payment rates. Every 2 years, CalRecycle must consider and determine the recovery and recycling payment rates necessary to fund, on average, the CEW collection recycling industry. Program staff will present its evaluation of net cost information and make recommendations about payment rates. You can find the public notice for this event linked on today's agenda. You do need to register in order to watch the live proceedings online.
Great. Thank you so much, Zoe. CalRecycle continues to work alongside local and private partners to ensure that products California produces and uses can be efficiently collected and remanufactured into new products here in our state. Check out this quick video on how California is working to build the foundation for a truly circular economy in our state.
The trash polluting our oceans and warming our planet is a problem we can no longer ignore. California throws away 40 million tons of materials every year. Resources extracted from our planet, designed to be used once, then sent on a one-way disposable journey from manufacturing plant to trash pile. Waste warming our planet, contributing to climate change, and polluting our land, water, even the air we breathe. With California already experiencing the devastating impacts of the climate crisis, it's time for the state to do what it does best: innovate. A new movement is already underway in California. It's called a circular economy, a system where every product and resource, whether it's food, clothes, buildings, or vehicles, everything is designed to last as long as possible, and at the end of its use, cycle or loop back into the system for a valuable next life. A new model, reducing and even eliminating waste, creating green jobs, and cutting down on greenhouse gases. California wants to be a leader in creating this remanufacturing circular economy. CalRecycle already oversees programs to recycle products like bottles, cans, mattresses, used oil, and paint. The department is now working with local communities to recycle food and yard waste into green products like compost and clean energy. Through its new Office of Innovation, CalRecycle's market development programs will work alongside the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, or GoBiz, to recruit and support businesses developing green technologies to reuse, recycle, and remanufacture products, combining state services with CalRecycle support that has already helped a number of businesses, including the world's first paper bottle manufacturer, and companies using cardboard alternatives to six-pack rings and replacements for plastic film. A new source of support for green innovation that builds a circular economy and creates green jobs with less pollution and trash.
California created the Recycling Market Development Zone program in the early 1990s to support businesses that use recycled materials to make new products. Since then, communities worked with the state to establish 39 local recycling market development zones where recycling businesses can get low-interest loans, technical assistance and marketing assistance from the state, and they may also be eligible for resources and business incentives from local governments, which may include siting and permitting assistance and financial incentives. Since 1993, the RMDZ loan program has funded 190 loans to 133 businesses, totaling $150 million. Deputy Director Zoe Heller is back one more time with some new information about state support for these zones. Zoe?
Thanks, Linda. This morning, we're announcing the approval of $234,000 in payments for the Zone Incentive Fund program. All 39 recycling market development zones are eligible for funding to support their local programs. 27 zones submitted complete applications by the March 1st deadline. As a result, the 27 zones will each receive $8,166 in funding. This item is delegated to me and I have signed it. The partnership between California and its local governments drives environmental progress. Local communities are responsible for implementing programs to use less, recycle more, and meet state climate and environmental protection standards. CalRecycle is responsible for overseeing how well jurisdictions are implementing these programs. Staff does this by conducting site visits, analyzing documentation, and through review of jurisdictions' annual reports, which include disposal information and self-assessments of their program. CalRecycle conducts more intensive jurisdictional reviews every 2 or 4 years, depending on the jurisdiction's past performance. The department also has the authority to conduct anytime reviews to make sure cities and counties are in compliance with mandatory commercial recycling and mandatory commercial organics recycling requirements. While most jurisdictions are implementing these programs to cut climate emissions and landfill disposal, CalRecycle has identified program gaps for 24 California communities. They are implementing portions of their programs, but we're still seeing levels of noncompliance and a failure to demonstrate robust commercial organics recycling collection for covered generators, as required by AB 1826, the mandatory commercial organics recycling law. We have a full summary of identified program gaps linked to today's agenda, as well as the jurisdiction's plan to address those gaps. Some local solutions include ordinances that specify recycling collection as a mandatory service and includes enforcement provisions, providing mandatory collection of service to all covered generators or issue waivers, and providing education and outreach to non-compliant generators. Local assistance staff will closely monitor these local programs over the next 6 months. Jurisdictions that fail to make adequate progress may be referred to our enforcement branch for further investigation. The item is designated for me for signing, and once again, more of those details can be found in the public notice. In 2020, staff found the city of Chula Vista had significant program gaps in implementing its mandatory commercial organics recycling program. These included a delay in implementation, the lack of sufficient explanation as to why these tasks could not be completed, and the city's failure to identify and monitor all regulated entities subject to the law. In early 2021, the city provided CalRecycle with a plan to address these gaps, which included program development during early 2021, adoption of rates, establishment of a waiver program, and commencing mandatory commercial organics programs with the opening of a compost facility. CalRecycle staff continued to monitor the city's progress and found identification of all regulated entities to be delayed, and reporting on program implementation continued to be inconsistent. Staff shared concerns throughout 2021 and requested a modified plan to address program deficiencies. The city responded in May and December of 2021 by submitting a modified plan that included adopting rates, sending letters to inform generators of mandatory services, and providing those services to covered generators. Through continued monitoring, staff has determined that while the city implemented some of the actions, it has still not set rates or provided commercial organics recycling programs for covered commercial generators, which has resulted in continued non-compliance of regulated businesses. On April 4th, 2022, the city provided CalRecycle with an update on its plan and timeline for addressing these deficiencies. While this update is encouraging, LAMD staff recommends referring this jurisdiction to the enforcement branch for further investigation. If the city corrects the program gaps during this evaluation period, then the enforcement branch will determine the jurisdiction has subsequently been found in compliance with the law. This item is delegated to me for signature. One last item CalRecycle is required to review and approve or disapprove is each countywide or regional agency integrated waste management 5-year review report. 12 counties submitted a 5-year review report that concludes no revisions to the planning documents are necessary at this time, and staff concurs. I have signed this item. You can find more detailed information on all of today's agenda items by visiting the CalRecycle homepage, scrolling down to public meetings, and clicking on today's agenda.
Great, thank you so much, Zoe. Moving on now to our pending solid waste and tire facilities permits. Check out this quick video to see how California facility standards help keep our communities safe.
Protecting the health of Californians and their land, food, water, and air is a big job. Local, state, and federal agencies play different roles to enforce public health and environmental safety standards. In California, solid waste local enforcement agencies process applications, issue, and enforce permits for solid waste facilities. These include landfills, transfer stations, compost facilities, or similar operations. CalRecycle must verify permits are consistent with state requirements. Permits can only address areas within the authority of local enforcement agencies and CalRecycle. Check out the link below for more detailed information. Emergency waivers allow temporary changes to solid waste permit requirements in response to local or state disasters. Local enforcement agencies may approve the waivers, which are good for up to 120 days and may be extended. CalRecycle must review approved waivers and can condition, limit, suspend, or terminate them. Check out the link for more detailed information. For waste tire facilities, CalRecycle processes applications, issues and enforces waste tire permits. These include requirements to make sure tires are stored and processed in a way that reduces potential threats from fire and disease-carrying vectors like mosquitoes. Check out the link for more detailed information.
CalRecycle is committed to protecting public health and safety by ensuring that California's waste regulations are followed. Pauline Lawrence joins us now with a statewide update on facility permits. Good morning, Paulina.
Good morning, Linda. First off, I'd like to start with those permit actions that the department has either issued or concurred on since last month's public meeting. So on March 22nd, 2022, the department concurred on a revised solid waste facilities permit from a Courtney Road transfer station located at 14741 Wolf Mountain Road in Grass Valley. This is in Nevada County. The action needed was by March 25th, 2022. The department also concurred on March 15th, 2022, a new solid waste facilities permit for Pre-Zero U.S. Plastics Recycling Facility located at 4388 Serrano Drive in Mariloma. This is in Riverside County. The action date was April 8th, 2022. Continuing on the agenda is Badlands Sanitary Landfill, located at 31125 Ironwood Road in Moreno Valley. This is in Riverside County, and this is a modified solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed April 29th, 2022. New to the agenda is Cerros Valley Minerals Argus Boiler Ash Landfill, number 1. This is in San Bernardino County. It's located at 13200 Main Street in Trona. This is a standardized solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed April 21st, 2022. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following. The facility is an existing non-hazardous ash disposal site. Permitted days and hours of operations are 24 hours, 7 days a week. Permitted maximum quantity of non-hazardous ash received is 317 cubic yards per day. Permitted operating area is 10 acres per day, and design capacity is 317 cubic yards per day. Lastly, the department received an emergency waiver from Los Angeles County. This is for a Azusa transfer and material recovery facility. On March 22nd, 2022, the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health local enforcement agency granted an emergency waiver for the permitted daily tonnage until July 14th, 2022. This is due to COVID-19. So next on our agenda item is grant awards for the CalRecycle's Solid Waste Disposal and Co-Disposal Site Cleanup Program. These funds assist with the cleanup of eligible sites where the responsible party is unknown or unable to pay for actions necessary to protect public health and the environment. There are 2 grant programs available. The Illegal Disposal Site Abatement Grant Program for illegal dumping sites, and the Legacy Disposal Site Abatement Partial Grant Program for those older legal sites that predate modern regulation. For the Illegal Disposal Site Abatement Grants, there are 2 awards. The first one is for the City of Clovis Police Department. They will receive $140,000 to help clear illegally dumped mattresses, tires, oil, metal scraps, and other trash at 4 sites. Some of the waste lies within the city's irrigation and storm collection system. With limited resources, the city is relying on state and federal grants to clear and properly dispose of waste and implement measures to prevent future dumping. The second is for the City of Torrance. They will receive $96,491 to clear 3 illegal dump sites of materials that endanger the public. Facing a deficit, the city is also relying on federal and state grants to clear the site and implement measures to prevent future dumping. For the Legacy Disposal Site Abatement Partial Grants, there is 1 award, and this is for the City of Woodland. They will receive $280,000 to remediate the old City of Woodland landfill as part of a larger Woodland Regional Park. The project will address deficiencies related to cap erosion, dilapidated fencing, and overgrown vegetation. The city has dedicated $100,000 in matching funds for the landfill remediation project, or portion of the project, but needs this grant to complete the work. We are currently evaluating the second cycle of grants in this program. The next application period is expected to open in August, so please visit the CalRecycle website. Next on the agenda is the approved CalRecycle managed cleanup of the Williamson tire site in Tomales in Marin County. CalRecycle is authorized to perform cleanups to prevent substantial pollution, nuisance, or injury to public health at waste tire sites where the responsible party fails to take action. The $250,000 remediation project will clear approximately 5,000 waste tires stockpiled on the property. The project is expected to start in May, and it will take about a week. And finally, we're announcing the conditional approval of security fencing at Rotelli private dump site near Sonora under the Solid Waste Disposal and Co-Disposal Site Cleanup Program. The 3-acre burn dump ceased operation in 1965. The $460,000 project will install fencing and remove some illegal dumping to deter future illegal dumping and trespassers. Back to you, Linda.
Great. Thank you so much, Paulina. Before we open it up to public comments this morning, we'd like to remind everyone that you can find more information on each of the agenda items that we discussed today by visiting the CalRecycle homepage, selecting monthly public meetings under news, and then clicking on today's date to download the meeting agenda. And I am now going to be joined by Chief Deputy Director Mindy McIntyre to help address public comments this morning. And Mindy, I think we have a couple of people holding on the line to speak this morning, so I'm going to let you handle that while I just get to our comments here.
Great, thank you. Yes, we had 2 requests for providing live comments, and the first is from Heidi Sanborn from, oh, Heidi, I'm going to mess up your title, so I'm just going to let you go ahead and let us know who you are. Introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Mindy. My name is Heidi Sanborn. I'm the Executive Director of the National Stewardship Action Council, which is a bit of a tongue twister. And my comments today, I had submitted written comments on the plan amendment for CARES differential assessment. I don't know if you're going to read that into the record or if that's just published. But my other oral comment is about the California Carpet Stewardship Program goals. I did want to say that I think that these are really reasonable goals. I would actually have probably gone a little bit further because to the public so that they all know, unfortunately, even though this is now a 12-year-old program, Aquafil had a plant sited in Woodland hoping that they would be able to receive enough carpet to keep the plant open, and they've already had to close one of the 2 lines. We heard that just a couple of weeks ago, which is a great disappointment. When we have built the infrastructure to to take the material from a program, create jobs here in California, and then find they have to leave the state because the program is not operating to get enough carpet to that plant when 70% of it is still going into landfill. It's a tragedy, it's upsetting, and we hope it never happens again. But in order to prevent it from happening or losing the second line, we have to get more collection. We can't recycle what we don't collect, and the program has not done enough for collection. So we support staff's recommendation. If anyone says this is too hard, in our case, we think it's probably too light and too easy, but we will support it because we know staff's working hard on this. And we just hope CARE will finally run the program we know that they can run. Unfortunately, it's in constant non-compliance, and that makes us sad, and we've lost jobs because of it. But thank you for allowing us to speak. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Heidi. And the next comment will be from Bob Peoples, from the Executive Director from CARE.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Great. Well, thank you, Director, for the opportunity to speak this morning on the RFA on the proposed California carpet stewardship goals. My comments will take a few minutes here. CARE is still evaluating the numerous goals and metrics that are set out in the RFA and intends to submit more detailed written comments before the new comment deadline period ends on Friday of this week. The reason for our deep concerns is that we believe there may be some serious unintended consequences as a result of the RFA and despite good intentions. Our independent consultants, which include Crow Consulting, Cascadia, and Aprio, are all in agreement with these concerns. They've been involved in deep dives in this data for some time. CARE, first of all, requests that any decision on the RFA be postponed until May. The RFA proposes numerous goals and metrics, and CARE is working in consultation with our consultants, still evaluating the complex impacts of these goals. CalRecycle should have the benefit of receiving our full comments before making a decision on the RFA, which will have significant and possibly negative impacts on the carpet recycling program and CARE's next 5-year plan. The short time period for generating public comments makes a detailed analysis of a complex program like this extremely challenging. When CalRecycle takes action on the RFA in this particular cycle, CARE requests that the director select option 2 and requests staff to revisit and revise the proposed goals and metrics. The carpet stewardship law was intended to increase carpet recycling in California. And CARE has worked diligently for the last 6+ years in making that a reality. But the law did not intend to set up the carpet stewardship program to fail through imposition of inflexible and unattainable goals and only create unnecessary burdens and increased penalty exposure for CARE and our individual operators. The RFA's proposed numeric goals are premature and erroneous from the discards formula because the discards formula will be updated. CARE, in consultation with Cascadia, has worked to prepare a new discard study. It will soon be submitted to CalRecycle, and the study is expected to improve the discards formula by incorporating known and verifiable data sources, as opposed to the significant number of assumptions that are made today. Any new goals to be based on the updated discards formula must be recalibrated. But CalRecycle in the RFA is taking a unilateral position on decision making. Since the goals are currently based on the existing formula, there's no logic to not make such an adjustment if or when the formula changes. The RFA's analysis of its various goals is not currently based on data. Simple arithmetic is not a reasonable analysis. The RFA goals based on linear and continuous growth. The RFA goals are based on linear and continuous growth. This approach fails to comprehend CARE's dedicated efforts to achieve and the success we've had over the last 6 years to date, and some of the practical limitations on future growth based on the diverse carpet markets, the different technologies, the economics, the local, national, and global factors, including inflation, beyond CARE's control. CalRecycle's justification for setting annual 3 to 4% increases of the recycling rate ignores these factors and is simply conclusory. The proposed goals very likely may not be attainable. Carpet discards are varied and complex. There are numerous challenges to increasing collections from the different sectors, residential, commercial, and multifamily. And there are limits to the improvement and the rate of improvement in the recycling rate that we can achieve. The RFA only articulates nominal percentage increases in the recycling rate, when in reality, they entail far greater increases. Coming down to the last few points, the RFA's collection and convenience goals are duplicative and ineffective. Imposing a new separate collections goal only functions to increase the administrative burden and CalRecycle's occasions to penalize CARE. The goals should be discarded as recommended by CARE. And it's worth pointing out, bad business decisions should not be the basis for goal setting. The RFA's proposed recycling and collection goals appear unsustainable. Even if the RFA proposed new goals were attainable, which we are concerned that they are not, their adoption would impede rather than advance the carpet recycling program as listed. The goals associated with trying to reach, the costs associated with trying to reach these goals will have a negative impact on carpet sales in California, by requiring increases in the assessment and placing carpet as substantial disadvantage to other flooring options, which is contrary to the statute. However, and more to the point, the decline in carpet sales will mean a decline in carpet availability to the existing program infrastructure, thereby undermining the work and investments made to build the program to this point. The 5-year goals in this RFA set CARE up to fail. CARE faces a catch-22. Either CARE creates a new 5-year plan based on unachievable goals at the expense of the carpet industry and correspondingly the carpet recycling industry, or CARE faces enforcement when CalRecycle decides not to approve the 5-year plan. The carpet recycling program in California has significantly increased the amount of carpet that is recycled annually and continues to grow. CARE intends to continue working diligently to further increase collections and the amount of carpet that's recycled. CARE should not be put into a cycle of enforcement because the goals dictated by CalRecycle are unrealistic. CARE intends to submit more detailed comments later this week. We respectfully request that the decision on the RFA be postponed until May. When CalRecycle does take action, we request again, Director, that you select option 2 and ask the staff to revisit and revise proposed goals and metrics in the RFA and based on the added understanding or additional comments we'll provide. Thank you very much for the opportunity to go through this.
Fantastic. I think, Rachel, you wanted to address those comments?
Linda, I thought we had one more written comment.
Oh, okay.
Before
I'll go to that one now. Okay, great. So we've got one comment on the same topic here from Joe Yarbrough with Carpet and Rug Institute. Joe says, the Carpet and Rug Institute requests that any decision on the request for approval RFA regarding the carpet program goals be postponed until May. The RFA proposes numerous goals and metrics, and CARE, working in consultation with its consultants, is still evaluating the impact of these goals. Many of the goals set forth in the RFA are far outside the parameters that were discussed in CalRecycle's workshop on carpet in December. It is important for CalRecycle to have the benefit of receiving full analytical and economic data before making a decision on an RFA that will have significant impact on the carpet recycling program and CARE's next 5-year plan. Thank you for your consideration of this request. Zoe, did you want to make a comment on that, or Rachel? Okay.
Happy to do it. Thank you, everyone, for your careful review of the RFA. I will take into consideration all written and oral comments that have been submitted through both the public meeting and that will be submitted in writing before I review and make a decision on the RFA. I will say I very much appreciate the incredible work that CalRecycle staff went to do the analytical review and to meet all of the statutory mandates and objectives that have been added to this program in the last several years, and to truly reflect the legislature's intention in the passage of that new statute. So all of those factors will be a consideration as I review the RFA and the comments that have been submitted on the potential options moving forward.
Thank you, Director. Well, we will read through the comments received now. The next one is from Manuel Medrano from the City of Chula Vista Environmental Services on item H3. He writes, I recommend that CalRecycle delay this decision to the August 2022 meeting to allow the city to finalize its approval of new organic waste rates at a public hearing scheduled for June 14th. As explained to LAMD staff via our April 4th response letter, Chula Vista City Chula Vista City Council has approved organic waste collection rates during a meeting in the fall of 2021, in which it directed staff to hold a Prop 218 compliant process. The process was completed and a final hearing was set for January 11th, 2022. At the time, the Chula Vista the city of Chula Vista franchise hauler was experiencing an employee strike that left the city with limited to no waste collection services. As expected, council did not want to take a decision that was going to provide our hauler with an increase in revenue when the city's residents and businesses were seeing trash overflows throughout the city. City staff was scheduled to move forward in January with new organic waste rates and prepared an extensive public outreach plan, which portions of its currently, sorry, I think there's a typo here, but plan of it currently sits idle when we await the June decision. Again, I request for this decision to be delayed to allow our process to move forward as scheduled. I would additionally request for CalRecycle to provide our city as much support as possible to help us convey our decision makers the importance of finalizing this process and avoid further enforcement action. Zoe, would you like to address this comment?
Sure. And Manuel, thank you for providing that additional information. And our goal is to provide you and the city with as much assistance as possible. Based on our staff's last meeting with the city, we're pleased to see the progress that you all are making. We also understand the reason for delays in implementation. However, as discussed with the city, moving forward with a referral to our enforcement branch is a tool for assisting the city. It's vitally important that CalRecycle brings focused assistance and attention to bear to provide the city with a full suite of assistance to help you be successful with complying with the requirements. As noted in the agenda item, if the city makes significant progress on improving rates and implementing the mandatory collection services, as well as the other requirements, such as the edible food program, then the city will be determined to be in compliance. We appreciate the city's focus on implementing these important programs and contributing to the statewide efforts to combat climate change. Happy to talk more if you would like.
Okay, and I think we've got another comment from Leonard Lang, Upper Room Consulting Incorporated. It's a little long, so bear with me as I read through, but report of 2014 of the BCR program. Will the department stop this policy until regulations are adopted? Recently, the division has taken steps to delay certification applications by reclassifying completed certification applications as incomplete. By what authority does the division take this action, and how does the completed application become incomplete? Oh, I see. I may have missed a couple of questions here. There's quite a few questions here. Let me start from the beginning.
Linda, if you could summarize the overall comment, and Mr. Lang, thank you so much for your comment. This sounds like there are some very specific cases that he is looking for input on, and we will take his comments and his questions under advisement. I think it's important for the public meeting for us to summarize the concern, but it is not an appropriate forum to get into a conversation about specific cases. And so if we could just summarize the concern for the public comment, and then we would be happy to respond to Mr. Lang's questions at a later date.
And this one is pretty long, so Amy, if you have access, maybe you could summarize some of the concerns raised by Mr. Lang.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Lang, for sharing your concerns with us. It looks as though you have some concerns about the BCRP certification process and also some enforcement training issues. So as Rachel suggested, we will get back to you with those specific concerns in a private email so we can discuss specific cases. Thank you so much for your comments about the BCP, and we look forward to hearing your suggestions both through the legislative process, and if you would like to email me directly at amy.cameron@calrecycle.ca.gov with your suggestions about the BCP and some of your ideas, we would be happy to read them and respond accordingly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. We have a comment from Robert Ramirez on the SB 1383 local assistance grants. He writes, any updates regarding the SB 1383 local assistance grant and when the award recipients will be announced?
Yeah, and Your question was probably answered during the presentation, but just in case you're looking for any more additional information, just want to thank all of the jurisdictions for their patience as we've been reviewing. Our interest, once again, is to get the money out the door as quickly as possible, but we had some additional review that we had to do. So the announcements will be made this month, and the money will be getting out early May.
Okay, fantastic. We've got another question from Clara from CAW. Where does CalRecycle stand on reverse vending machines? How many certified RVMs are there, and how much are in the process of getting certified? How long is the process to certify RVMs? This looks like let's see, and that's it. Amy.
Thank you, Clara, for your questions. CalRecycle is excited about any innovation that brings further redemption opportunities for our consumers. I do not know how many recycling centers are solely certified to use reverse vending machines as their primary means of redemption, but we will certainly get back to you with that number. RVMs are a type of recycling center, and the timeline for certification is up to 30 business days to determine if the application is complete, and once complete, up to 60 calendar days to approve or deny the application. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you, Amy. We have a comment from Maria from the City of San Jose, also asking about the local assistance grants. When can cities expect to hear from CalRecycle whether their application was one of the 399 applications that were approved for the first round of funding? This is you again, Zoe.
Sure, this month for sure, so within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, and then we've got a question from Matt on AB 1826 and AB 341. If 24 jurisdictions are out of compliance with AB 1826, are the remainder in compliance or making a good faith effort? This is not the messaging cities and counties across the state have been receiving, indicating that all jurisdictions with 100% compliance rates will be put on compliance plans with the next 2 months. Appreciate your clarification.
Thanks for the question, Matt. As staff complete assessments of each jurisdiction's implementation, staff is addressing if the jurisdiction needs to be placed on a formal plan or modify an existing plan. You may notice that over the last couple of years and as late as last month, we've presented similar items with other jurisdictions, and we will have future items. CalRecycle does not expect CalRecycle does expect jurisdictions to fully implement, and our staff is closely monitoring each jurisdiction's implementation. So, this is an ongoing agenda item, so you'll be hearing more from us, at subsequent public meetings. Thank you for the question.
Okay, we have one last comment. Heidi mentioned before. Heidi has a comment from the National Stewardship Action Council. I did get it right this time. There are problems with the differential assessment proposal. One, only a 2-cent advantage for recycled content is dismal, not enough benefit to encourage RC. And 2, stating allows for molecular recycling, which is not a thing in molecular recycling is not defined in law, and this is very concerning. What is CARE proposing? What technology? What emissions? We are concerned this is being approved and hope CalRecycle remains vigilant to monitor exactly what CARE is doing, as they have a history of non-compliance. I believe that is all of our public comments. Sorry, Zoe, go ahead and address the comment, please.
Okay, Heidi, thanks for that comment. Once again, these differential assessments went into effect on April 1st, 2022. We appreciate you sharing your concerns. CARE was required to adopt a schedule to develop a revised system of differential assessments that's inclusive of additional factors such as type of face fiber to align the assessment levels more accurately with the financial burden of those various carpet materials on the program. And this was for inclusion in their next plan. Regarding molecular recycling, as stated in the RFA, CARE must consult with CalRecycle regarding any molecular recycling operations to determine if those operations constitute recycling under the Carpet Stewardship Program. You are welcome to follow up with program staff or myself if you have any further questions.
Okay, and I think that's the very last question. So we want to thank everyone for participating today. We hope that you enjoy the new format that's designed to make communication accessible, inclusive, and as relevant as possible. We welcome your feedback through the public comments portal. In the meantime, have a great rest of your morning and week, and we'll see you again next month.